share that peace among all who will hear your voice. Fill our hearts, that your mercy and your grace may follow us. You, Lord, alone are good. May tonight reflect your good government. Grant your counsel to bless our mayor, Jose, and our city council. Guide our public works to work for the good of our city. As we consider zoning, may we not zone out on the impact on those downstream. Fill us with your awe that alone can ease our anxiety. Fill us with faith in you that never fails. Curb lawlessness so that our law enforcement can lend a hand in building community and goodwill. Give your angels to watch over those who stand the watch. Reestablish our defense. Guard against fire and calamity. Guide our education. And establish God-fearing schools. Balance our public health. And bring about the beautification of Shepherdsville. Into your hands I entrust this meeting tonight. May it be pleasing in your sight. In the holy name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start our meeting at 6:32. Just a couple of quick notes here before we get started. No sign-in speakers tonight due to the fact that we've got quite a bit on the agenda tonight. I know we had our first readings on the zoning, which is the public hearing, so we had a chance to speak. If there is somebody that is going to speak again about this property, I will give you a couple minutes, but it's really a very heavy schedule. We're trying to get done with everything. And just something for the council, if you're not speaking, would you please turn your mic off? The only reason I say that is because we were listening to it, and it's kind of a lot of noise, and it's kind of hard to hear some of the things, and I just want to make sure that that's okay with everybody as well. So, as we get started here, can we get a roll call, please?
Okay. Ms. Enlow?
Here.
Ms. Portman?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Hibbert?
Here.
Ms. Mendez?
Here.
Ms. Mangus?
All right. First of all, on our agenda tonight is our presentation. We have better news than we anticipated. We have Ms. Tanya Taylor here, and before she gets started, I know she's getting everything ready to go. You want to turn that mic on, Tanya? One of the things about this is the audit for 2021. That tells you where we're at. So we've scheduled another one in May, and then another one in October. The one in October puts us back to being on schedule because this interferes with our grant money, and obviously doesn't help our credit or our status with the state. So obviously we want to make sure we get these knocked out. We do want to thank our Strothman, the group that we're working with. So today, Tanya's just going to give an overview. If she did the detail work, you'd probably take a nap.
Yeah, you might.
So we want to give you some highlights of things that we've noticed, some opportunities for us, but we think we've got most of it corrected, and we're at least on our way to our second audit in May. So Tanya, thank you for doing this.
And I've worked in accounting for 35 years. 6.5 of that was at the city of Shepherdsville from 96 to 2002. When I first came in 2021, we were working on the audit for 2020. So we worked hard to get through that. It was a lot of digging through documents. So we finalized that one, and once we finalized, the auditors let us know that they would not be doing our audit. So then we were already behind. We had to search for a new auditor. So we picked Strothman to do our audit. They are a big firm in Louisville. You can go to their website and find out some more details about them if you want. I think I was very surprised with the audit. I guess I say very surprised. It's a fairly good audit, and there were lots of difficulties. So each of the council has a copy of the audit, and it'll be on the website tomorrow. I just want to point out a few things. The audit is from 2020, July 2020 to June 30th, 2021. A lot was going on at that time, COVID, people were working from home, we lost staff. So there were a lot of issues, a lot of difficulties. Rules were changing every day, as you know, if you work through COVID, you know that. When we had staff leave, we were already, per previous audits and from my observation, the admin department was short-staffed already. And then when staff leaves, you just add more work onto already overworked people. So I was very pleased with the audit. This is the first page, and it shows you the Strothman Company, so you can look it up. And I have just pulled out a few pages that I thought were, had notes on them that I thought you might find interesting. The first one, it just talks about the ending cash for the city and the utility, sewer utility, 5.8 million, 8.2 million. That is as of June 30th, 2021. The general fund revenues before financing sources of 15.1 million exceeded expenditures for 14.1 million. Shows they were being good stewards even before I got here. So, and you all can read all of this. If you need some nighttime reading, it will be exceptional for that. Yeah. I like the stuff, and I had a hard time reading it. So the change in net positions, it just tells you where we were at the end of 2021, and it compares it to 2020. There are several different comparisons, just like your monthly financials. It compares it to budget, to prior year. So different schedules will show you different things. So let's see. The total revenue, approximately 2.6 million, or 20.3% for government activities, primarily driven by grants. Think about it. It was COVID. We got some coronavirus money to help us move along through the COVID virus. Then this other piece I put in here, operating revenue related to sewer charges for services offered by the city of Shepherdsville decreased by $307,000, or 4.6% for fiscal year ending June 2021. It's just a note. There are several notes throughout the document that you'll see. If you have questions about it, don't hesitate to call. I'll be happy to answer them. And the page numbers that I'm looking at here are on the bottom of the pages. The city's total investment for capital is at 58 million, and that includes the assets such as buildings, infrastructure, streets, roads, sewers. We didn't do that all in 1 year. That was built over time, and that is a net of depreciation. I put this in here. I highlighted this in gray. Let's see, let me go back to that. The city of Shepherdsville is governed by GASB number 68 to begin reporting the financial statements. And it talks a lot about CERS, and a lot of the things you read in here are on CERS, which is our retirement system. So there's lots of requirements through the state that has to be reported on the financial system. So more interesting facts are, let's see, page 1. Oh, page 11. It's hard to look at it from this angle. Economic factors, next year's budget and tax rates. I just thought this was an interesting page. It talks about unemployment for the city of Shepherdsville, what the future of growth and jobs, what the median household income, 65 going through our town, 17 miles from UPS, the cost of living. I just thought it was interesting facts. And I know I might sound like a nerd, but that's okay. And then the city previously, let's see, predicted a reduction in revenue due to COVID, but we did have a slight reduction in revenue at the time, but it has bounced back. So then we get into some of the schedules. So this is the balance sheet for the city. It shows government funds, municipal aid as of June 30th, $8 million. Then the liabilities. And there's a note in here, I think I skipped it, talking about the difficulties that we had with the doing the financials and getting behind in work. And you can see that in this accrued expenses right here. Because some of the things, when I came in, we were behind in paying different things. You can see this 1.241 million. That's where you see that, that there was an issue there. This one shows you the property taxes and the revenues that we have collected. Shows the revenue collected for that year was $15 million. And then it shows the expenses of $14 million. Notes on financials. This page, I highlighted this page because I think this is a great read. It talks about all the bonds and the debt that the sewer company has. Not that they have a lot of debt, but this tells you when we took it out, when it's going to be paid off, the interest rates, and it's in a simple 4 paragraphs. If you want to really look at it and dig down to the details, I have 3 boxes in there you're welcome to look at. But this will tell you what you need to know. And then this breaks down revenues, a little more detail, where it's coming from, and the expenditures by department, and it shows you by budget. So I said it would compare it to, this is actual in this column, this is budget, and the variance from budget. And these are the findings. So we did have some findings in the audit. There were 5 findings. One was material adjustments. The city's manager is responsible for establishing and maintaining internal controls over the accounting transactions. That failed in some places. We have worked hard to resolve that. You can see my response down here. I went over these with the mayor prior to having them printed. In May of 2021, the city hired a new finance officer, and during the second half of 2022, the city hired 2 accounting clerks, additional staff, along with training and balancing accounts and making corrections as needed will assist with resolving the material adjustment issue. I can tell you we have made tremendous progress in this area.
I just want to say something about Holly
Jessica.
Holly and Jessica. I think, both of them have been a great addition, and I think we're getting things done promptly as far as we're processing our invoices and getting stuff paid. That was part of the problem, and I think staffing was a big part of that.
Yes, I agree. Let's see, segregation of duties. So when you're short-staffed, you can't separate duties, and that's part of the issue. So we are working on that. One of the issues is doing HR. We don't have an HR department, so the person who does HR does payroll as well. That's an issue for us. We are working on separating that. That was in, you'll see that was in last year's audit too. Missing records. There were some missing records that we couldn't find. There was some that we did find after a lot of searching. This comes down to additional staff, people working from home. Things were just not where they should have been. Inadequate collateral of deposits. So all of our deposits should be collateralized. I believe this is a documentation issue, but I'm working with the bank to resolve it. They assure me that everything was protected, but we have to have that document, and the auditors have to have it. The last one, this is pretty telling. So this is the 2021 audit into June 30th, 2021. Timely issuance of audited financial statements. So, and then the next few pages are just showing you that material adjustments were a repeat offense. Segregation of duties, repeat offense. and inadequate collateral of deposits, repeat offense. So, are there any questions that I could answer?
Tanya, I do. I don't, maybe that last thing is what it was, but I thought I read in there that it said that some of our monies in the banks was higher than what we were insured for.
That's what they're
That's
talking
what
about
that
here.
is?
This-
Okay.
And I believe it is a document issue that I didn't have the right document to give to the auditors. We're working on that the bank assures me that our money was always protected, but I have let them know that I have to have a document stating that, so that's acceptable by the auditors.
Thank you.
So just an assessment of that, 4 of those 5 things are very correctable very quickly. We're looking at the HR situation, again, how
Yes.
we address that. We'll take care of the 5th one, and then we're gonna be in pretty good shape. What's nice about what we're doing this year, in order to expedite this for everybody in the audience, the same group's gonna be doing the next one in May. So between them knowing how to prepare for us, they've already got preparation from this first time in this audit, which is gonna save the city money, because that hasn't been, we haven't been using a very high qualified person to do the audit. The second thing is she's now has a system. She did the Easter egg hunt to get started for this first audit. And so now she has things in place, and we still got some triage to do in our lovely storeroom up there. But we don't wanna get into that. But we're getting things in a place where it's accessible, have things ready to go, and I think by the time we hit October, we'll be back on track where we need to be for audits. And I'm excited for all the hard work you put into this.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to make that. I know most of us were just extremely excited to hear all about numbers.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tanya. Oh, yes, yes.
I want to say, you know, I was part of the city as an employee, and I seen all that they went through. It was, people were trying to do each other's jobs because there wasn't enough employees, and they were not given the tools they needed, and I feel like that this is going to start happening. So you just keep up the good work and tell everybody in the office they're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, I will.
You're welcome.
If
Good
I could
set,
ask
yeah.
a question, what type of additional collateral can the banks provide over and above that dollar limit?
Well, it's not a dollar limit, so on our sweep account, that account is collateralized, fully collateralized, and they give me a paper that shows me that. We have another type of an account, it's a savings account, and it sits outside of the sweep piece. So it's a different type of an account, so it's not covered by the same type of collateral that we had. They assure me it is, but I need an acceptable form of documentation for the auditors.
Because I'm just used to, most people are used to seeing that FDIC insured is up to a certain dollar amount,
Right, so the
So I kinda
FDIC dollar
presume that-
amount is $250,000,
okay?
and so anything above that has to be collateralized for a
Okay.
company.
Right,
So otherwise, if you don't ask for it and the bank goes under, you could lose a lot. So we'll make sure that that is taken care of, we have the right documentation, or we'll change the account to something else,
okay.
so.
One question. Tanya, can you explain how the pension obligation is factored into our financial statements?
Yes, so we pay, on all of our employees, we pay pension. So then the people that manage our pension account, there's some unfunded,
Basically, that's a number, the actuaries at CERS
Yes.
come up with a total unfunded liability.
Right.
And then they assign all the participants
Right.
your share of the unfunded
right.
liability, basically.
So I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but that number is in this document.
Yeah, I think altogether it was between the actual pension obligations and what they call the OPED.
OPED,
Was a total of like $28 million.
Yes.
And I just, doesn't mean we have to write somebody a check for $28 million.
Correct.
It's just a number that we gotta
Just
carry.
a placeholder, just to make sure everybody's aware that this unfunded obligation is there.
Yeah, these are future obligations
Yes.
way down the road, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Tanya, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. All right. Good. Yeah, we can't really forget falling asleep there. All right, so we need to approve the minutes. We have two. We have February 13th, 2023 regular meeting, minutes as presented. I got a motion by Bonnie. Second by Paula. Would you do a roll call vote, please?
Righty. Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbard?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus. Yes. Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow.
Yes.
All right. Now we have our
You can, but you can.
meeting notes for our special meeting on February 20th, 2023. I need a motion, please. All right, Paula, second. Second with Brad. Another roll call vote, please.
All right. Ms. Portman,
I abstained from voting since I wasn't
Don't-
here.
okay. Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus. Yes. Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna move on to our second reading of ordinance 019-283, 023-004, amending the ordinance 019-283. So, Ms. Catherine, if you will read that for us, please.
Summary of ordinance 023-004. Section 1 sets forth that ordinance 019-283 is amended as follows. Section 2 sets forth that Section 2 is amended as follows: to reflect the job title of Assistant Finance Director instead of Treasurer, Finance Director instead of City Controller, Human Resources Director instead of Human Resources Manager, Office Clerk 1 instead of Office Clerk, and the change of the minimum and maximum pay for each position. To reflect the beginning pay rate increase for the administrative positions of City Clerk, Deputy City Clerk, Assistant Finance Director, and Code Enforcement Officer. To reflect the change from full-time to part-time of the administrative position of Community Planning and Development, and the change in the minimum and maximum pay. To reflect the minimum pay rate of $3,000 a year for the administrative position of Alcoholic Beverage Administrator, and to reflect the addition of the administrative positions of Accounting Clerk 1, Accounting Clerk 2, Parks and Recreation Administrator, and the beginning and maximum pay rates for these positions. Section 3 sets forth that Section 3 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the Public Works positions of Maintenance Worker and Seasonal Maintenance Worker, and to reflect the addition of the Public Works positions of Public Works Maintenance Levels 1, 2, and 3, and Public Works Maintenance Probationary/Seasonal, and the beginning and maximum pay for these positions. Section 4 sets forth that Section 5 is amended as follows: to reflect the job title of Operations Manager instead of Superintendent, City Engineer instead of Engineer, and Assistant Engineer instead of Engineering Technician, to reflect the changes in beginning and maximum pay for the wastewater treatment plant positions of Operations Manager, City Engineer, and Assistant Engineer, and to reflect the addition of the wastewater treatment plant positions of Project Engineer Part-Time, Engineering Intern, Wastewater Foreman, Assistant Wastewater Foreman, Wastewater Clerk, Wastewater/Collection Technician Levels 1, 2, and 3, and Wastewater/Collection Technician Level 1 part-time, and the beginning and maximum pay for these positions. Section 5 sets forth that Section 7 is amended to reflect the incorporation of Resolution 22-13 regarding premium pay of $13 an hour added for all eligible employees. Section 6 sets forth that Section 9 is amended as follows: to reflect the changes to the job objective, job functions, qualifications, skills, and education requirements of the administrative position of City Clerk, and to reflect the addition of the administrative position of Parks and Recreation Administrator, and the job objective, job function, reporting responsibility, and education requirements of the position. Section 7 sets forth that Section 10 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions, skills, and education requirements of the administrative position of Deputy City Clerk. Section 8 sets forth that Section 11 is amended as follows: to reflect the changes to the job objective, job functions, education requirements, and qualifications of the administrative position of Assistant Finance Director, and to reflect the addition of the administrative positions of Accounting Clerk 1 and Accounting Clerk 2, and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, and reporting responsibility of those positions. Section 9 sets forth that Section 12 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions, skills, and education requirements of the administrative position of Finance Director. Section 10 sets forth that Section 14 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions, skills, and education requirement of the administrative position of Code Enforcement Officer. Section 11 sets forth that Section 15 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions of the administrative position of Community Planning and Development Coordinator. Section 12 sets forth that Section 17 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions and education requirements of the administrative position of Human Resources Director. Section 13 sets forth that Section 19 is amended as follows: to reflect the addition of the Public Works positions of Public Works Director and Public Works Administrative Assistant and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, and other requirements of these positions, and to reflect the changes to the job objective, job functions, educational requirements, and other requirements of the Public Works position of Public Works Foreman. Section 14 sets forth that Section 20 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the Public Works position of maintenance worker and to reflect the addition of the Public Works positions of Public Works Maintenance Levels 1, 2, and 3, and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, physical requirements, and reporting responsibility of these positions. Section 15 sets forth that Section 21 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the Public Works position of seasonal maintenance worker and to reflect the addition of the Public Works position of Public Works Maintenance, probationary/seasonal, and the job objective, job function, education requirements, physical requirements, and reporting responsibility of this position. Section 16 sets forth that Section 22 is amended to reflect the changes to the job objective, job functions, education requirements, and work environment of the wastewater treatment plant position of operations manager. Section 17 sets forth that Section 23 is amended to reflect the changes to the job objective, job functions, skills, work environment, and safety equipment of the wastewater treatment plant position of city engineer. Section 18 sets forth that Section 24 is amended to reflect the changes to the job functions, education requirements, work environment, and safety equipment of the wastewater treatment plant position of assistant engineer. Section 19 sets forth that Section 25 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the wastewater treatment plant position of collections supervisor/MS4 and to reflect the additions of the wastewater treatment plant positions of project engineer part-time, and engineering intern, and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, work environment, safety equipment, and reporting responsibility of these positions. Section 20 sets forth that Section 26 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the wastewater treatment plant position of sewer maintenance worker and to reflect the addition of the wastewater treatment plant positions of wastewater foreman, assistant wastewater foreman, and wastewater clerk, and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, work environment, safety equipment, and reporting responsibility of these positions. Section 21 sets forth that Section 27 is amended as follows: to reflect the elimination of the wastewater treatment plant position of seasonal worker and to reflect the addition of the wastewater treatment plant positions of wastewater/collection technician levels 1, 2, and 3, and wastewater/collection technician level 1 part-time, and the job objective, job functions, education requirements, skills, physical requirements, and reporting responsibility of these positions.
All right. Catherine, thank you for doing that. First of all, I know it's pretty lengthy. Before we get into motion in a second, I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate everybody's feedback. You know, it's been a long time working for some of you all, been working on it for a while, but we have an opportunity to get things taken care of. So I want to ask if there's any last comments before we get a motion in a second. So if you have something else you'd like to add, we'd like to hear it, but otherwise, we'll get a motion in a second and then we'll vote. Any other comments? We're good? I know we spent a lot of time talking and emailing and texting and getting everybody on page here, so could I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Got a motion by Bonnie and a second by Faith. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Alrighty. Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus. Yes. Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Ms. Portman,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Haber.
Yes.
So this is the short one.
This has been a long time coming, too.
Thank you all, thank you all. Come on. Hey, yeah, yes, sir.
Is this second reading of this ordinance repeated on our agenda here?
I think it is. Yeah.
On page 3 at the bottom of page 3?
She was,
Yeah, it is.
thanks, Mike.
Whoopsie.
You were swamped.
So, yeah, we had a contract that we had to add to the end of this, Mike, so I think she was just kind of adding a couple things, but thank you for pointing that out. Thank you, sir.
I thought I could see it.
We're not, you know what, I was gonna say, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna do that twice. That was once and that was enough. All right, Ms. Catherine, if we could,
I don't think anybody would want to listen again.
we have a second reading of the ordinance 023-011. If you could, please. Second reading on that.
011.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, my bad.
No worries.
I thought we were going in numerical order, I
No, ma'am.
apologize. An ordinance related to the hiring of an economic development advisor for the city of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky. Section 1 authorizes and approves the hiring of an economic development advisor as an independent contractor by means of a personal services contract between the city and the Economic Development Advisor. Section 2 sets forth the educational requirements for the Economic Development Advisor. Section 3 sets forth the duties and responsibilities of the Economic Development Advisor. Section 4 sets forth the manner in which the Economic Development Advisor may be terminated. Section 5 sets forth the manner of compensation of the Economic Development Advisor. Section 6 sets forth the manner in which the personal services contract shall be approved. Section 7 sets forth the severability clause. Section 8 sets forth the repeal of inconsistent laws. Section 9 sets forth an effective date upon passage and publication.
Thank you, that was a lot shorter. All right, I know we've discussed this one as well, and I do appreciate everybody's feedback, and one of the things I want to make sure for everybody here is we've talked about managing that. It's a year position. Talked to Bonnie again, make sure my commitment is that we review that after 6 months. We made that commitment as a group. We're going to make sure that we do that. Obviously, we have Courtney here, so what I'd like to do is make sure if we've got any other questions, any comments? Yes, yes, ma'am.
And we've talked, and there's not a consensus with the council on the pay, but we have discussed with the mayor that we're going to go ahead and improve. Part of the reason is we will be saving paying taxes, health and other issues that will help make up for that difference. And he's agreed that in 6 months that we will review this, and if everything's looking good, then we'll just continue on with it. So I'd like to make a motion to accept.
I have a comment too, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
no, go ahead.
So I've dwelt on this, and I think the world of Courtney. I know she is a go-getter. I've seen her in action. I have dwelled and made myself sick. So, but I did have something written down that I want to read. And I came into this thinking about other employees. Because I've been an employee before, I've watched them struggle, and I worked with some that live week to week, paycheck to paycheck every 2 weeks, actually. And so I've come to realize that they were not given the tools that they needed. That's one thing, and I think that that's going to change. I think you're going to make that possible. If not, you have 6 people here that's going to be on you about it, I'm telling you. Because you've already gave Courtney tools to work with. And I think from what I've seen other employees and going around watching them, I feel like they're starting to get that too. And appreciation. Because that's one thing they need more than anything. They need somebody to say, hey man, you're doing a great job. Because I didn't get that before. I know for a fact because I never got it. But, and I did dwell on the pay because I know how people struggle. And a lot of people in this building know that I didn't make anything and I didn't care, you know. It wasn't about me, you know, it was about what I loved. But, so, with that being said, you know, I just wanted you to know how I felt. I mean, you and I talked
Yes, ma'am.
forever about this. And like I said, I don't want you to take it personal because it's nothing against you, okay? Because I think the world of you and your mama. But, you know, it's just, I wanted to think about other employees.
Absolutely.
You know, and they mean a lot to me, so.
And
That's all I have to
I
say.
appreciate your comments. And I do, I want to make sure we've got, this is our 2nd month together. And I think, we're starting to work things out, but we got to make sure we understand this is a team that's going to make things work. We're starting to see in 2 months what we've done. Look what we've done together so far. And it's exciting to see that. We've got 4 years of doing the kind of things. We talked about our projects we're going to do, about cleaning up our city, working on things like that. It's going to take that kind of cooperation. It's never done by one. So I appreciate your comments. Bonnie, I appreciate yours. And I know everybody's had some comments, Jennifer and Brad. I've heard from you, Mike and Paula. I appreciate everything you guys have said. And again, that's what we need to do. We need to hear from each other because that's only going to make it better. So I appreciate the motion. Ms. Bonnie, do I have a second?
Second.
Second with Jennifer. And would you do a roll call for me, Ms. Brenda?
All right, Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbard,
Yes.
Ms. Portman.
Okay, I walked in here saying I was gonna say no. I have battled with this for about 2 weeks, and like I said, it's nothing against Courtney. It's just that I worry about other employees, but I feel like that our city needs to move forward. I really do. Don't you sit there and laugh at me.
I'm not laughing. I'm smiling with you.
So I guess, I'll go ahead and vote yes.
But council, I appreciate that. Like I said, we all have expectations. Yep. And I think for most of you all, again, this is a whole different dynamic of what we're trying to do in the city. It's a different way of looking at a person that represents our city. It's a contractor, but it's somebody that we're asking for results for. And I can tell you, I know a lot of people want the same thing I want. I just want more of those people on our team, and that's why we've asked Courtney to be a part of this. So, council, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate it. I mean this very sincerely to you. I thank you all, and like I said, I expect to earn your trust every day. And Faith, you keep an eye on me, all right?
Oh, don't
All
worry,
right.
Will.
Hey,
you know
short
that.
people have to keep an eye on each other.
That's right.
All right.
But
Thank you,
I do-
council, on that one.
I do want to keep, our other employees,
Yes.
keep working with them and try to bring them up to where they need to be. Make them feel like they're wanted, so.
Well, one of the things we've done with the pay scale and the job descriptions, we've now set that in place to do some rewarding and stuff. So thank you very much for everything. I appreciate it very much. 06.
All right, this is a summary of an ordinance amending the Bullitt County City zoning order and the Bullitt County City zoning map, changing the zoning of 5.5 acres more or less, located at Charles Hamilton Way in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, also known as parcel 037-000-00-014AA, from agricultural to light industrial. This rezones approximately 5.5 acres from agricultural to light industrial with restrictions, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right, thank you.
Can we vote on those three together, just
I was gonna say that's probably, we've read them like that? Can we do that? You guys
Yeah.
good with that?
I think we should.
We're good with that. Mike, you good with that? All right.
So we doing
So the next reading is
7, 8?
Yep.
We're
Yes.
doing 7 and 8,
Yeah,
okay.
let's do this.
All right, ordinance 02,
Aren't you doing 6 and 7?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did
one? Yeah,
6.
6 and 7.
Okay.
Yes. No worries. Come up here a minute. This property pertain to you in the area you live in? Oh, no worries. If you will, just state your name and address when you come up
Please
here. Push
turn
that
the
button.
mic on.
Yep, turn that mic on for us. Hit that button. There you go.
My name's Brent Denham. I live at 707 Old Preston Highway South.
Yes, sir.
I'm right there at the corner of 7th Avenue and Old Preston, right across from where this is gonna be at.
Yes, sir.
If this is allowed to go through, which everybody in our area is strongly against, we don't want another trucking company or industrial thing in the middle of our neighborhood. But we do have a couple issues that we would like to bring up and ask that you all, if you do allow this, to make a few extra restrictions. One is we have a lot of children that catch the bus right there where they're wanting to put a secondary exit to this property. We'd like to ask that that not be allowed, and we'd like to ask that there be a barrier put up there to separate that property and all the residential people around that property. Secondly, at one point in time, the city of Shepherdsville deemed that the roads in that area were not sufficient enough to handle semi-trucks. There is actually a no semi sign right at the beginning of 480C when you turn out the 480. Just like to let y'all be aware of that, y'all at one time.
Microphone.
Oh, hitch,
Nope.
yeah.
At one time, y'all realized that the roads were not sufficient enough to support that kind of weight and stuff coming through. That's all I ask, is that if y'all do allow that, make sure that they're not coming through for the safety of our children and everything. We've talked to the bus depot, and they don't even know what to do with the kids, because the next bus stop that they can catch is way down the street. Some of these kids are already walking about a quarter mile just to catch the bus. So,
I would say that, well, I appreciate your comments, and it is in the neighborhood. The key for us is that once we get through this, we'd like to make some comments and taking your comments into play here, because I know everybody has an opinion about this. We will be hearing.
that's
about
all I
this.
ask, is that y'all take that into consideration.
We will, sir. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So, this is, all right, so, what's that?
We talked about that exact thing
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Well, I think there's that going on. All right, so, you want to read the second one?
Okay, so
And
that
then
would
these two,
be
yep. these two
7,
go
okay.
together.
Okay. All right, ordinance 023007, summary. This ordinance rezones approximately .517 acres more or less located at 632 Old Preston Highway South in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from agricultural to light industrial with restrictions, and it provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
Right. I know there's a lot of conversation, so we do need to have this conversation. I know there's a lot of I'm leaving the floor open to hear everybody's comments.
Well, Jennifer and I talked today. You go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay,
Dr. Martin.
I thought that we had discussed, and the only barrier was going to be trees for the neighborhood.
But
I
I
don't-
thought the mayor said a fence.
Well,
I was gonna ask that there request a fence, because that is a neighborhood, there are children, and if they go on that property, it just protects the trucking company, the property owners, the children.
no, and I was gonna say this, I talked to Clinton a few weeks back, when we talked about this, he obviously wanted vegetation versus that, but he did make a verbal commitment to me on the phone, they would put a fence there. So, I do want a fence, I think that is something they have to do with that property, at the same time, obviously try to keep the trees that they keep everything
Yes,
they can.
for
from a
sound
vegetation
barriers.
standpoint. But
And
I
light
think-
barriers.
I think that that's gonna be there, it has to have a fence.
Yes, it
I
does.
think that's a non-negotiable, so that would actually, if we voted for this today, we would have to make sure that we have in documentation, it's kinda like the property with the Power Out Motor, back there, that they have the fence that they need to fix, and that they're coming on the one side there. And so we need to look up that information and go back to them and explain to them that's your obligation to repair that fence. And that's the problem with most residents. When these agreements are made, what happens is that the commitment's not there to follow up on the commitments you made for the neighborhoods. So I can tell you, we're not gonna let that happen. So I do think that a fence has to be part of this agreement. If you guys do decide as a council to vote for this, a fence has to be a part of this deal. And I can tell you, the argument made by Clinton, was that they needed a second out because of the traffic and what happens when it lines up on 65. Am I correct with that, Clinton? We were talking about that. The problem with it is there's no way for us to monitor you only to make that the exception. You know, you gave me your word, I'd have to have some police car out there making sure that you weren't just using it as the shortcut to get out versus just using it as more of the emergency route and making some commitment there, or making a commitment not to go through the times that the school bus is there. I mean, those are things that we would have to manage to try to make that part of that program work. So,
I would prefer the barrier, and that was one of my things, only because they're not gonna be able to get out on 61 anyways. And
yeah, I still need to visualize a tractor trailer coming out on Old Bronson
It's
or
terrible.
Preston.
yeah, I don't think I could visualize it.
All right, Clinton, could you come up here a minute, please? We're gonna, please turn. If you don't mind, Clinton, I kinda wanted to, put you on the spot here. Could you put, mic on for us, please? Just click, give it a click.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted you to give us just a kind of a rundown. I know there's a little bit about the approval from the planning and zoning. Could you just give us a clip note, because I'll tell you why, I've heard a couple different things, but could you tell us what
So
they?
the restrictions from the county planning and zoning were directional lighting, and paved, hard surfaces at the entrance and primary driving areas. John, what was the third one? The screen. Yeah, that's correct. And then, at the last meeting, Ms. Saylor brought the actual county documentation, and it said that even with vegetation, the fence was required, so the law's in place.
Yeah, so we know that the fence is coming.
Yeah.
But I guess my only concern, like everybody else, is we keep looking at that Old Preston Highway to see what was gonna be like there. I don't know how we can manage, we need to manage that time. You say your trucks, what are normal truck hours that they leave? You know,
They vary, but most of them leave in the morning and come back in the afternoon.
what time, I know it sounds.
6 to 8 a.m. leaving in the morning.
Is it?
But unless there's a traffic snarl, I have no shippers or receivers in this city, in this county. All the drivers are leaving and getting on I-65.
Yeah.
The North Preston is the opposite end of the property from I-65. So it would be extra wear and tear on the truck, extra time on the driver's day, and there's no good reason for them to use that entrance unless there is an obstruction to the other.
So that's the concern. So what happens is we say, okay, we'll let you do it, just only use it when you're supposed to, okay? Or an emergency situation, you know as well as I do. You're gonna have to put a barrier there and only remove it in some fashion when it comes to using that as an emergency outlet.
Isn't that a state highway?
I'm sorry, no,
Isn't Old Preston a state highway there?
I don't think it's, I don't think it is anymore. Yes, it is. It is still?
Yeah, it is.
So,
So
but I
I'm
mean,
gonna have
from
to
the,
agree to limit my access to use a state highway? That I'm paying truck taxes to run?
we have to find a way, you know as well as I do, the way this was going to get the approval from the council, you can already hear it. It's gonna be about how we watch that traffic coming out to where those kids there. That is something that I want you here, Glenn, just like anybody else. We want businesses to come to Shepherdsville. We want you to be here. But that's a concern for the neighborhood. And if we have let those kind of things metastasize over the years, and all we're doing now is this council is gonna be real considerate about what we put in these neighborhoods. And that's the concern. You know, it's a small operation. If it was anything larger, I would have said no from the word beginning. But it's a smaller operation, coming out of Cedar Grove Road, you have a fenced-in area. I think it's suitable. The problem is that outlet there. And I think this council's gotta come to some resolution as to what they think would be the best way to keep monitoring the traffic coming out there. And that's gotta be obligation by you and your staff.
Mayor?
Because yes.
Can I make a suggestion that would help? That we go down to that area and look at it and make some area there just for the kids for a bus stop and close it so that they can wait inside there? Are any of the kids crossing over Preston to get to the bus stop? Does anybody know?
Bus comes and the kid gets on the bus right there at the stop sign at 7th Avenue, and then they get on at 5th Avenue on Woodland. So no, they don't have to cross the street there, the cross the street is where the property is located.
What time's that bus get there?
Which one?
2 times.
Oh,
You got 3 different buses that come through there.
Yeah.
From 6 a.m.
I was gonna say from 6 a.m. to at least 8:30.
Yeah. And any time in the afternoon, and it's a lot of the little kids.
I mean, I'm all ears.
I think we need to maybe see about making them some kind of a safe bus stop there, that the kids understand they stay there within that when they're there, and they're safe. Back years ago, when we were kids, that's what they did for a lot of the places that, I lived. We had actual places for us to stay. I think even one of the trailer parks up in the north end has a covered area for the kids to wait for school.
Quick suggestion before we make a vote on this.
Yeah.
Why doesn't everybody go out there and look at the property and the street, and how the trucks actually have to turn?
I have been out there.
I've been out there.
I've been out there 2 times.
Yeah.
We've seen the area. And we haven't seen it 6 o'clock, or we haven't seen the buses come
Yeah,
by.
and there's buses, what are you talking about, the buses are gonna come, there's a truck's gonna come out, make a left-hand turn, and right into where the kids are catching.
My question is, Clinton, so, okay, you're gonna be using Charles Hamilton. To me, that would be better even in an emergency. I mean, if 65's backed up, 480C is gonna be backed up, am I wrong, people that live back there?
We can't even get out of our house.
Charles Hamilton's gonna be backed up. I live across from Little Central, and if 65's backed up, I don't get out of my house. I just stay there and have a beer, you know.
It takes at least 2 hours to get off 7th Avenue. It really does, that's no exaggeration. Yeah, what if we had an emergency?
Yeah, that's what worries me.
I have a comment.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
Paula?
Okay. I think what he's wanting to do is great, you know, because we need places like that. I just have trouble with the location. You know, maybe if he found a different location, we don't need more traffic, and I just don't think it's best for the citizens. That's just my personal view.
Mike, you have any thoughts on this?
Is there, was someone indicating that the school bus stops at the entrance you would have off of Old Preston?
Yes,
You said 7th Street.
At that point?
yes, it's right, the entrance to where they would be at is right there where 7th Avenue is.
Okay, and how many times a day does the bus stop there, roughly?
At 3
Okay,
3 in the morning, 3 at night.
in the morning, 3 in the afternoon.
okay. Would those Mr. Klein, would those typically be times you would be going in and out?
I do not think there are times that we would be using that entrance. Usually traffic issues are in the afternoon. I don't see many traffic issues in the morning. It's usually late afternoon when the traffic issues emerge.
Okay.
But there's a chance that a truck would be going through there, you know, anytime between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Sure.
There's a fair chance.
I know
Is
it.
it gonna be at 8:15 or is it gonna be at 8:35? You know, it depends on the traffic that driver ran into when he was making his deliveries that day.
I know, I believe at the last meeting we had, Mr. Heffley, if he's in the audience, I don't know.
No, he's not.
Made a comment about the trucks turning out of that South Preston exit onto Old Preston Highway South, which is 2-lane. Do you know how wide that entrance is
Which entrance?
on South Preston? How wide, how much frontage do you have at that?
I don't have
location?
the survey with me, but I believe there's, Melanie, what's there, a couple hundred feet there?
Can I say something? My dad.
What, can I ask him to finish that question first?
She's trying.
I would estimate it at 200 feet across there,
Okay.
Mr. Hibbard.
Because I was presuming that if you have a 200-foot wide entrance and a truck is basically to the right, there should be no problem.
There would be
in
no problem
just
making
turning
that
onto
turn.
that highway going south.
And point of order, I've pulled up the map here, anybody that wants to look at it, Seventh Avenue is not across from this property, it is across from the neighboring property to the south.
To the
So
south.
we would not be turning directly at the bus stop. It would be, looking by this, probably 50 to 100 feet south of where this
Okay.
property ends.
Did you want to add to that comment, ma'am? Do you want to say something?
Yes, as far as pulling out of that driveway, my dad pulled mobile homes in and out of there all the time, and they were 80-foot long. Some of them were. I mean, it has been used many times with vehicles that has the long trailer behind them, and he's never had an issue.
More residential out there, you know, a lot more kids and everything too.
He's done it for years.
Hey, do you have any other questions?
So would it be a problem to barricade that? I mean, I know that it would be
Yes, that's a state highway. I've agreed to close off all the traffic from the north-south streets, Cedar, Hackberry, but I think to locate in that area, we've gotta have that second entrance available. And if you barricade it, then, you know, who has the key? And then you've got a driver that's coming in and there's a wreck in front of him, he tries to go around the long way, and then if the barricade's set too close to the road, then he can't get his truck off the road to get in, and while we're calling the office to get somebody out. No other businesses in Shepherdsville have to have a gate up at a state highway to pull into their business. I understand the city streets on the north, those roads are not built to take these trucks, but Old 61 is a state highway, and it's built for these trucks, and there's no reason to say we can't use it if we buy this property. There's nothing stopping me from taking a truck and driving it up and down that road right now every day.
There's actually a sign that says you're not supposed to.
On 480C, which we have said since planning and zoning at the county level, we agreed to terminate all those streets, and there's no reason for us to take a truck on those roads. But there's no reason for me to take one on Old Preston now, but there's nothing illegal if we chose to do it.
All right, so what we need to do is we've had a second reading, we've had comments. Clinton, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming up here. Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
So this is the first issue that I dealt with after I got elected, and I've spent a lot of time on it. I visited the property. I've talked with the residents. I talked with Mr. Klein. He was willing to answer all my questions. And I keep coming back to the same.
Thank you, can't hear you.
Sorry. I've talked a lot with all the residents and talked with Mr. Klein, and at the end of the day, I keep coming back to the same issues. The traffic on Old Highway 61 South is an issue. It's not built for heavy trucks. You know, I know he's got a limited number, but it's just, if he's gonna put an entrance there, he's intent on using it. And we have to be cognizant of that fact. And I just don't think it's suitable for truck traffic. There's a drainage issue that's been documented. It's in the floodplain. You know, I know he's willing to work with the engineer, but we don't know what the effect is gonna be on those surrounding properties. There's an existing agricultural use on one side and residential streets but the north side. And we don't know what effect that's gonna have. There's a fuel storage there, 4,000-gallon diesel fuel tank that's gonna be his primary fueling source. That means fuel tankers are gonna come in and out of there on a regular basis, refilling that fuel tank. And by his own admission, there's more suitable property in that area that's already zoned industrial. And that's the one issue I can't get past.
It is, I hate to interrupt, nothing around there is zoned industrial. The property across the street is commercial. Mrs. Shaw's property for sale there is still zoned agriculture. And all the property over on 61 on the west side of it is still zoned agriculture. So any of those tracts that I did select in that area would be right back here, and we could rezone the property in the same neighborhood.
Okay, but there's, those other properties in that area, I don't think have the impact on as many residential properties as this one does. You know, it's just, we've been more about the zoning part of this than the planning, here over the past several years. And I think it's just something we gotta get away from. If we shoehorn this rezoning, I take the 30,000-foot view that this is an industrial zoning. It isn't about Mr. Klein or his business. I like him, he runs a good business, and I want him here. I just don't want him in that location. That's what it boils down to. You've gotta look at it as, this is gonna be an industrial zoning, and basically, when you shoehorn a rezoning in to this type of area, it squeezes the other residents out. They feel squeezed, and I just can't do it, and I can't support it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Jennifer, would you like to add anything else?
No,
Okay.
now we're good.
All right, are we good? All comments? All right. I need a motion and a second for these two together.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What is going to be the finding of the fact if you vote opposite?
Well, there's
of
two
what?
things. We talked about, obviously, the traffic with the school, because you do have to have fact-finding on this one. If you turn down a planning and zoning, if you do, you have to have fact-finding in it. And I think we've stated, first of all, looking at the zoning, as Brad was mentioned, in that area, the residential area, but also talking about the school buses coming through there off Old Preston. So those are two and then also, one, obviously, he put in there about the fuel tank. And the fuel, what? And the floodplain. So we had 4 fact-finding on that, Mike. But I appreciate, that's a good question. Appreciate you asking. All right. Don't have a motion, and I don't have a second. Okay, well, we are not,
Deny with the facts finding, correct?
Do
Well-
what?
We have to vote to deny
yep, so we have to have a,
with the facts finding.
Yes.
I need to have a motion to deny.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to.
Brad, I need a second. Yep.
Make it clear it's on both of them.
What's that?
Make it clear for, in the notes that it's for both.
For both of these ordinances. So then I have a follow with a second. And our fact finding are the 4 things listed, that I just listed with Mike. We talked about the residential. We talked about the school buses in Old Preston, the times that they're actually being kids.
The insurance. Welcome.
Yeah, we talked about the fuel
And the floodplain.
and the floodplain. Okay. All right, need a roll call vote on this, please.
Ms. Enlow?
This is to not approve it, so you're saying
Motion
yes,
to
that,
deny.
with motion to deny it.
Yes to deny.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes to deny.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Deny.
Mr. Hibbert?
No,
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
5-1 to carry, not to approve this ordinance. I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you all. All right. Moving on. We have 3 ordinances that can be read together. This is in zoning for these three. So Catherine, if you would, we're gonna read 023-008 dash, 023-009 and 023-010, okay?
Summary of ordinance 023-008. This rezones approximately .3879 acres more or less located at Fourth Avenue in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from R3 residential multifamily lower density to B1 highway business. And it provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. Summary of ordinance 023-009. This rezones approximately .41 acres more or less located at 475 Old Preston Highway South in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from B2 central business to B1 highway business, and provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. Summary of ordinance 023-010. This rezones approximately .5306 acres more or less located at Old Preston Highway South in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from R3 residential multifamily lower density to B1 highway business, and provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right, so we all know this is Tony Cox in the areas around this.
Right.
Just kind of collaborating all together. I don't know if there's any comments, questions, anybody in the audience for this, I know we.
I have a comment.
Yes. Get your speaker.
Well, this is like in a neighborhood, so I have concerns because if we change it to, like business or whatever, business, highway business, then there's all those little neighborhoods around there, and I just don't think that's right for the city of Shepherdsville. And there's lots of children and stuff.
That's all. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
I think one across the street.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Do we know what he wants to do with this?
It's my understanding he's just cleaning up his, and getting all his stuff together. He's been using all that already for many, many, many years. And he's built different buildings here and there. So some of them, his building's already built on it.
He's wanting to retire, so he's eventually, and he's wanting to,
Yeah,
he's wanting to consolidate.
already had businesses, didn't they?
Yeah, it's just
grandfathered in.
two of the
Yes.
lots were not zoned correctly, and he's trying to fix that, so it's not a problem later.
It's not changing anything that it already is.
Right.
Yeah, hey Paula, what he's doing is he's just positioning himself to sell all that and retire. He's
I know, but couldn't that change once he dies or something?
ready to come back to us.
But it could still be highway business.
Have you looked at it?
He's
Yeah.
already
Have you
had
Oh,
looked
I
at it?
bet- oh, yeah.
Mike, any comments? Anything you?
Are we voting on all three of
We
those
are voting all
together?
three
All
again.
three.
All three, because they're all together, Mike.
I'll make a motion
All
to
right, make a
accept.
motion.
I'll second.
Second for Faith, and then a roll call for me, Miss Brenda. Yep. Motion to approve.
Mr. Hooper,
Yes?
Ms. Megas,
No.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Ms. Boardman,
Yes.
Ms. Emo, yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for that. All right, new business. Turn the lights off when you get done. All right, so new business here. Obviously, this is part of the exciting part of things that we're doing here. We talked about our plans for our park, talked about renovation downtown, talked about the aquatics center. So we want to make sure, there's a process that we have to go through, and we start with a resolution on the fact that the city is looking to borrow this kind of money. So with that said, I have Ms. Kathy here. She'll read resolution 023-002, please.
A resolution of the city of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, declaring the official intent of the city to reimburse itself for capital expenditures from the proceeds of tax exempt obligations. Whereas, except as otherwise provided, all capitalized terms used in this preamble have the meaning set forth in section 2 of this resolution, and whereas the city of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, the city, a municipal corporation and political subdivision of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, intends to undertake the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of improvements to a municipal park, renovations and improvements to the downtown district, a new aquatic center, and various other capital improvements in the community, collectively the project. And whereas that, one, the city makes a declaration of official intent within 60 days after the payment of such capital expenditures, and two, the city makes a reimbursement allocation within 18 months after the later of either the date the capital expenditure was paid or the date the property acquired with the capital expenditure was placed in service, and in any event, no longer than 3 years after the capital expenditure was paid, and whereas the city desires to make a declaration of official intent pursuant to the reimbursement regulations related to the payment of capital expenditures for the project, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, affirmation of preamble. It is hereby found, determined, and declared that the facts, recitals, and definitions set forth in the recitals of this resolution are true and correct and are hereby affirmed, and all acts described in the recitals of this resolution are hereby ratified. Such facts, recitals, and definitions are hereby adopted and incorporated as part of this resolution. Section 2, definitions. The following definitions apply to the terms used herein. Allocation means written evidence that proceeds of tax-exempt obligations issued after the payment of a capital expenditure are to reimburse the city for such payment. Capital expenditure means any expense related to the project for an item that is properly depreciable or amortizable, or that is otherwise treated as a capital expenditure for the purposes of the code, as well as any cost of issuing reimbursement bonds. Code means the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Declaration of official intent means a written declaration of the city, including this resolution, stating that the city intends to fund capital expenditures with an issue of reimbursement bonds, and that the city reasonably expects to reimburse itself for such capital expenditures from the proceeds of such reimbursement bonds. Reimbursement means the restoration to the city of money temporarily advanced from other funds, including monies borrowed from other sources by the city to pay for capital expenditures before the issuance of reimbursement bonds intended to fund such capital expenditures. To reimburse means to make such a restoration. Reimbursement bonds means any tax-exempt obligations that are issued to reimburse the city for capital expenditures and for certain other expenses permitted by the reimbursement regulations previously paid by or for the city. Reimbursement regulations means Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2 and any amendments thereto or superseding regulations, whether in proposed, temporary, or final form as applicable, prescribing conditions under which the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations may be allocated to reimburse the city for capital expenditures and certain other expenses paid before the issuance of the tax-exempt obligations, so that the proceeds of such tax-exempt obligations will be treated as spent for the purposes of Section 103 and Sections 141 to 150 of the Code. Tax-exempt obligations means tax-exempt bonds, notes, certificates, or other obligations included in the meaning of bonds under Section 150 of the Code. Section 3, declaration of official intent. The city hereby declares, pursuant to the reimbursement regulations, its official intent to reimburse itself with proceeds of reimbursement bonds in the reasonably anticipated amount of up to $30 million for capital expenditures for the project that may occur before the issuance of the reimbursement bonds.
All right. All right, I would like to have, I'm going to say to Stephen, Carson. Is that close? All right, you come up here, and Brian, would you come up here a minute? These are the two gentlemen that we're actually working with. It's always RSA, but you said that one of the letters is gone.
Yes.
These are the two gentlemen that we're working with. They're from KLC, great supporter of what we've been trying to do in our city. We've made some new friends with Brian and Steve, and we brought them up here. First of all, if you have any questions about the resolution before we vote on it, it's important for people to know we're setting up, we're preparing to let you know that we are going to do what we said we were going to do. We're going to borrow the money to do the park renovations and the downtown renovations and the aquatic park. So we have to do a process. And so I don't know if you two want to add anything to the resolution before we vote on it, and I wanted the council, they got a chance to meet them when we were in Lexington, 18th, 19th, and 20th. So I got a chance. One of the things we're trying to do with anything that we do in the city, I want this council to be informed. I want them to know everything they need to know. They can reach out to anybody they need to know. We're going to try to answer questions. You know, a lot of things are there's a lot of money invested in the city. We think there's a great residual back for the community, not only just the families, but also what brings more families to our community that want to be here because we have these amenities. So with that said, council, do you have any questions for these two fine folks up here and the resolution? Again, it states here, and in the actual ordinance we're going to read the next thing we're going to do. It doesn't say that in there, so I don't know if there was a question, hey, it's here, but it's not here. So I don't know if anybody had that question or any questions you might have had.
I don't have any questions, but we did have lengthy conversations where they went over numbers, debts that we already have, debts to look forward to the future, and their numbers showed that this is feasible and that we would be able to give the residents of Shepherdsville everything that they deserve to get.
Without raising taxes.
That's usually a pretty good.
Yes, that's a good thing, yes.
I had to throw that part in,
great.
I'm sorry.
Mike, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
This resolution has nothing to do with the actual acceptance of the bond, right?
That's
No.
correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, this resolution just allows you to pay yourself back, say the city were to incur engineering expenses or something along the way, could pay themselves back from bond proceeds if they had to, pay it out of the general fund or something like that.
No. Okay, good, we're all good. All right, so with that said, I need a motion.
Motion.
All right, and a
Second.
Second, okay. I have it. Right, just write them all down. All right, thank you. Yeah. Roll call, please.
At this time, I just want to state that I picked this up late Friday. It was Saturday before I looked at it. I had a very busy weekend. My schedule would not have come close to being able to meet with the mayor and discuss any of this. So I have many questions, and I'll set an appointment to talk to you about it.
Okay.
And so without some of those questions being answered, and even with them, at this time, I'm not sure if you can amend a vote later on or not, don't know.
Okay.
But at this time, I would have to vote no.
Okay.
Ms. Enlow,
Yes, I read it.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus, Ms. Portman,
Yes, and I picked mine up early Friday, and I
Ms.
think we
Mendes.
talked several times, didn't we?
Yes.
All right. I appreciate that. 5-1 carries.
Okay, and I apologize.
Did you ask Jennifer?
Yes. She said yes. This next one is a hot mess on the
Yes.
agenda, but Catherine's gonna fix that, reading it.
So we are going to read now the ordinance 023012. Do you gentlemen have copies of that? All right, great. All right,
Yeah, that's one I.
all right.
What
You would, Ms.
what
Catherine?
is this ordinance pursuant to?
This is the ordinance that we're reading now, that this is our first reading on. The second reading, we approve to borrow the money.
Borrow the money.
Yes, sir. Yep, we're ready.
All right, summary of ordinance 023-012, an ordinance of the city of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, approving a lease agreement for the financing of a project, providing for the payment and security of the lease, creating a sinking fund, and authorizing the execution of various documents related to the lease. The ordinance provides for the approval of a lease agreement, the lease to be entered into by the leasee and the Kentucky Bond Corporation, the leaser, for the purpose of financing certain public improvements for the leasee. The ordinance also contains provisions providing for a general obligation pledge of the leasee to levy and assess sufficient taxes to comply with the obligation of the leasee to pay lease rental payments to the leaser under the lease, and for the creation of a sinking fund to be pledged as further security for the payment of such lease rental payments and certain other obligations of the leaser. As required by KRS Section 83A.060, the section of the ordinance relating to the leasee's pledge to levy and assess a tax to pay the obligations under the lease is set forth in its entirety. Section 2, General Obligation Pledge. Pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, including particularly Sections 66.011 through 66.171 inclusive of the Kentucky Revised Statutes as amended, the General Obligation Act, the obligation of the leasee created by the lease shall constitute a full general obligation of the leasee, and for the prompt payment of the lease rental payments under and as defined in the lease, the full faith, credit, and revenue of the leasee are hereby pledged. During the period the lease is outstanding, there shall be, and there hereby is, levied on all of the taxable property in the leasee, in addition to all other taxes, without limitation as to rate, a direct tax annually in an amount sufficient to pay the lease rental payments under the lease as and when due, it being hereby found and determined that the current tax rates of the leasee are within all applicable limitations. The tax shall be and is hereby ordered, computed, certified, levied, and extended upon the tax duplicate and collected by the same officers in the same manner and at the same time that taxes for general purposes for each of the years are certified, extended, and collected. The tax shall be placed before and in preference to all other items and for the full amount thereof, provided, however, that in each year, to the extent that other lawfully available funds of the lessee are available for the payment of the lease rental payments under the lease and are appropriated for such purpose, the amount of such direct tax upon all of the taxable property in the lessee shall be reduced by the amount of such other funds so available and appropriated.
Well, this is the first reading, and I do want to put in the terminology a little bit, the lease versus loan. I mean, I know you kind of explained that to everybody, that it's not. Mike, could you turn your, thank you.
Sure, yeah, so basically the way that we do these is the Kentucky League of Cities set up a borrower, the Kentucky Bond Corporation, the AA minus credit rating, put a bunch of money in. So, you know, they issue bonds. From there, you enter into a lease agreement with the Kentucky Bond Corporation under the Governmental Leasing Act. So it is basically a loan. It's just for whatever reason, when they wrote those laws, regulations, they called it the Governmental Leasing Act. You know, you're not leasing property, you guys own property, everything like that. No outside entities come to take stuff and try to lease it back to you. They just, for whatever reason, called it lease payments in a lease.
Right, and one of the things we want to do is, obviously, since we all met with them, and this was discussed already, one of the things, and I appreciate you both being here, right?
Sure.
Like I said, you know, I'm not really a fan of a lot of people from Lexington, I was just.
Hey, I don't live there.
I'm sorry, but I know Steven does, so I gotta give him some trouble. But listen, we appreciate your support, and one of the things we want the public to know is at least know that we're really thinking this out. We're actually using our resources, using KLC to make sure we understand. The obligation we're making here is a good one, but it's a large one. And the fact that we're doing that, we're looking at what does it mean for the investment of the city? Something that should have happened a long time ago, but if we try to piecemeal, this would be another 10, 12 years. And I gotta tell you, I don't have any time for it, and I know you don't either. And I don't think this council does as well. So the key in this is to how we transpire all this into 3 to 4 years and having a community that we can all be proud of. And we're gonna see, again, more families living here. We're gonna see more people being here. We're gonna see revenues that actually work for us. And again, we have things that work. And so for you two guys, you're a great resource for us. And I know you're gonna come back the next week, but what I wanna do is, we need to make sure, and one of the things we try to do as a council, when we come to this meeting at these times, we have our answers. We wanna take the time before we get here. So I will make sure they have your email address. I'm gonna copy you on with this council. I want all the questions to you, because you're gonna answer them a lot better than me. But the idea is that they'll have everything answered so that we come back in 2 weeks, they'll have their answers, so they come here, they can make an informed vote on how to invest in the city, okay? Because that's what's been missing a lot of what we do here, is we take this opportunity now to ask these questions. It doesn't mean we don't have a comment or two, and I get it. I think there's been some good comments made, even when we're getting ready to vote. But I think this is a very important comment to keep making, is I want them to have every bit of information on anything that we do, okay? That's what you're gonna get the best informed decision. Again, it's not always gonna be what we all agree on, but we're gonna be informed. If for nothing else, we're gonna be informed. So I'll make sure that you two guys, and what I'd like to do is, let's see kind of the feedback we get this next week or so. I really, not that I don't wanna see you again, but we just wanna have good news for you about what we're trying to do. But I want these people to know that they can reach out to you, ask any questions. And Mike, like I said, he had some questions. I'm gonna make sure that he gets a chance to reach out to you, ask those questions, so that he comes back to the meeting in 2 weeks, he's ready to go as well as everybody else. So I appreciate it. Thank you all for coming, and we'll just turn that speaker off. And, all right.
It was good seeing you all.
Yes, yes, thank you all. I actually kinda like you guys. I'm just saying, it seems like that's what I heard. Thanks, guys. All right. Now, with that said, and again, this will be on our docket for the next meeting, March 13. All right, so we got that done. We have an approval for sewer department surplus list of a 2008 Ford 450 to be sold on Gov Deals. All right? Is that something you're doing there, Mr. Scott? You got anything you want to add to this?
It's our oldest truck, it's caught on fire a couple different times. We tried to use it.
Well, I think you got your money's worth out of it. Can you safely say that? All right. Can I have a motion to approve putting this on Gov Deals? We got a motion from Paula.
I'll second.
Second for Jennifer. See, they love you, Scott. All right, I need a roll call vote, please, to surplus this.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus, Ms. Portman,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez.
Yes.
So we need, all right, well, thank you all very quick for that. All right, so now. All right, so everybody has a copy of this, okay?
Yes.
All right, so really, I appreciate it. It's been a pretty lengthy meeting, and that's, like I said, we had quite a bit on our, vote to approve extension of Republic Garbage Services. And I don't know if there's any comments from anybody, but I will tell you, that I know we have Tom back here, and we have, our celebrity guy, Steve. Probably the most famous guy in Shepherdsville. He's the real celebrity in Shepherdsville. And I've told Todd this, and I'll tell Steve this while he's here. Customer service, it's got your name written all over, buddy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Nice. I want to just give you a round for all you do for the neighborhood. So we met with them, and we felt like we have a partner we can work with. And, you know, there's always that one or two, but I think overall we've got a strong partner, and I appreciate what you guys do. So we just need a vote. If you see, if I need a motion, and I got Faith in a second.
I'll second.
All right, Jennifer, and then can I get a roll call vote on that, please? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I just want to comment.
Yeah.
My
Hit your speaker. Hit your mic, I'm sorry, I keep saying speaker.
In my opinion, we extended this contract a year ago for 2 6-month periods at the same rates with the annual increases of, I believe, 2%. Everything else stayed the same. At this point, that's a franchise. I believe it's supposed to be bid. This extension has both rate increases. I know the per cart unit is doubling, and the monthly residential rate is going up, and with some others. So in my opinion, this is just a renegotiated contract without it being put out for public bid. I did not personally have any problem whatsoever with both the previous haulers and Republic. Fine job, all of them. And that's my concern, that if you have a reason why you believe this can be increased and extended without bidding it, since it's a franchise, I'm more than willing to listen to that.
Okay, well, it's contracts are signed by the mayor.
They are.
All right, and so all we need is approval to accept the contract, Mike. So what I'd like is, I've got a first and a second, and I need a vote. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Motion.
All right, I've got the motion in it.
Oh,
Yep,
second.
I just need give me a roll call, please.
Who made the motion?
Oh,
We
now
may-
we vote. I got lost in the conversation.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert,
No?
Ms. Portman.
Yes. Should I make a comment?
Yes.
I feel like that this is best for our community. Number one, if you live in the county, I have a father that has, trash maybe once every 2 weeks. And it's one bag, and he pays $60. Well, he don't no more because we canceled it. $60, can you believe that? For one bag of trash every 3 months, I mean, it's ridiculous. So, for this price of $12.19 per month, I say yay-hoo.
I'll make a comment.
Okay.
I had a heart attack 2 years ago, and Steve drug my garbage out for me until I was better.
Well,
So,
when I had my foot surgery, he did that.
yes, that's the kind of service we get with Republic. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your concerns, everybody, and I appreciate all the comments.
Thank you.
So, hey, welcome, partner. We're excited to be working with you, Steve. Just maybe one day we can be as popular as you.
You gotta get up early.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's
no.
real popular.
Hey, thank you all very much. We're looking forward to working with you. We got a 4-year extension. We've got a sign, so Todd will make sure we get that to you in a minute. Listen, it's been a long meeting. I do just want to quickly, before we get to the council, basketball camp, still a great hit with the kids, really enjoying it. We're letting the kids stay, if they want to stay 2 hours, they're enjoying it. Parents are really loving it. I will tell you, we had baseball tryouts, and it was awesome. The kids loved it. So we're getting started with both our baseball and our basketball camps, and then we're going to have, again, in the fall, we'll have this. There's no charge on the basketball, and we're excited to have that for them here. We're trying to have more things like that. I'm going to go ahead and say it, but I'm taking no credit for it. It's called Food Truck Invasion. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so it came out on Facebook, and if you're on Facebook, it came out on Facebook. I had to start over. So if you've seen it on Facebook, it has blown up. We have 15 trucks and possibly more, because we did invite our local food trucks, but we have to make sure that they have their, insurance and license, also been inspected by the health department before we can let them do it. The Louisville Food Truck Association is the one in charge of it, but it's gonna be great, I'm telling you, we're so excited.
I know.
We have
I was gonna
probably,
say, and they have, if you follow them on Facebook, they're actually doing probably about 8 so
Yeah.
far this year, where they're going to different towns
Mhm.
and bringing all the food trucks in, so. And we're gonna have live music as well.
live music, we're gonna have over 20-some vendors and all local. Well, he's bringing in 5 of his, but the rest of them are local. Gosh, I can't think of everything. I've been so excited on the phone with him for 2 days, you know, so. It's gonna be a great time. I hope everybody comes out on May the 21st from 12 to 5.
Yeah, and we also have the car shows that we're starting in May. So we're gonna try to have more, while we're working on building our big projects, Steve and Brian, we're gonna continue to do community things. So we've got things we do for youth sports that we're working on, but we're also trying to get our community to be real proud of what we're doing. And we're gonna have pictures of the park plan out there. So people, when they come in the park for whatever they're going through this summer, they're gonna start seeing, when they start seeing those shovels, it's gonna be exciting. So, a lot of good stuff. Yes, ma'am?
How about this sandbag house?
All right, well, I know you are, and I'm gonna tell you, we are working on that. I know you're here for that reason. I know, but it's a process, and there's a legal process that I've gotta handle, but I've told you that, and I can tell you this, in front of this council, they all have code enforcement in front of them. They all have copies now of what we're going to be working, but there is a process, and I know that,
I hear this all the time.
I know you do, and you just got, I just got started.
I mean, I've been to, I don't know how many meetings,
I know.
nothing ever done.
That's right.
But you know why?
It will.
Don't they buy?
No, but I tell you
Well,
what,
we are working on it, but you do have to abide by the laws.
Okay, why can't you condemn his home? He has no bathroom, he has nothing.
well,
We're paying sewer bill. He's living over a creek. He has nothing. When I know houses over there, when they first moved over there, if they didn't have running water, sewer, they was gonna come condemn it.
Well,
How come they're not condemning his?
he does have water, and I can tell you, we've checked on that. So here's the thing, and I realize, listen, I can hear your passion and I can hear your frustrations, but this is a new administration, and we're trying to take care of something that wasn't taken care of a long time ago, and I apologize for that, and I do. But I think you'll find, and I will tell you this, and all this council is already working on this, and there is a process, and all I can tell you is, I told you on the phone, and I'll tell you the same thing right now, okay? They're working on putting together an ordinance right now that's gonna, and I will personally take it to him, okay? And I've already told you that, and you've gotta be able to trust us because there is a process in that. So, again, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate that you have to go through all that, and none of us do. And that's a problem.
It should not have been done, it should not have been started.
That's right. It should have never happened to start with, and I totally agree with that. So, we are working. I apologize.
I mean, you know, it's terrible when you can't even sit out on your
Yep.
porch.
I know. Hey, I drive over there every week to see where we're at. I get it. All right, but I appreciate you being here, and you just gotta give us a little time, but we're getting it, okay? Thank you all, thank you. Ma'am, it's gonna take a little bit, but that's all I can say to you right now. You have to trust us on what we're telling you. All right, Monty, any comments you'd like to?
To you, I promised you we're gonna take care of this. We will. I couldn't promise it the last administration, but I can promise it now. There's gonna be a lot changed, and we're gonna do a lot more. And we're making, code enforcement a whole lot tighter and stricter to start taking care of what we should have been doing all along. I also wanna say, I'd also like to take in all the stuff that we just went through today, and I'm gonna admit this. When the mayor, we were running for office, I was against Jose, very much so. I still don't trust completely, but he hasn't proven me so far any reason not to trust him. So far, everything he's told me has come true. He shares everything with us. We don't get blindsided anymore. I don't have to be embarrassed about going out in public and you all telling me what's going on in the city and I don't even know. So I've seen a tremendous amount of progress so far. We're all working together. We're all on the same page of everything we want to do, and we're going to prove to you that you all matter first. And it should have been this way for the last 6 years. And I've been under 4 different mayors, and this is the first time we've moved this much stuff in a short amount of time that we've been in here. That's all.
Thank you. Brad, what would you like to say? You can't top that.
I know.
Ditto.
I don't even think I should try. Just dovetail what she said. I mean, zoning cases are tough. Somebody's always gonna get their feelings hurt, but I hope that people realize by what we did tonight that we do take citizens' concerns into account. And I think that reflected on our vote. And as far as what she said, it goes to show you can be a brand-new council member, but you still have to bear the responsibility of things that happened before you. And it's our responsibility to correct those, so. And we intend on doing that, so.
Well
thank you.
said, well said. Miss Jennifer?
Okay. Yes, Bonnie, I stand with that 100%. Thank you. Yeah. I would just like to say, I've been volunteering at the basketball on Saturdays. Me and my step twins, they come with me and help mentor the kids. I just want you all to know that the kids love it. I had one come up to me and say he could not wait to come back because he loves basketball here. So he loves that he's playing that. Yeah, that's all I can think about right now.
You did good.
Yes,
You
thanks.
did good.
Yes.
Miss
Okay.
Faith?
Yes, I got a couple things to say. First off, I want to say that I'm here for the community for sure and the employees. I will always stand behind the employees because I go around daily to see what they're doing. They don't know I'm there. I watch the fire department, the police department, along with everyone else, and I feel that, and back up a little bit, for the last few years, it's not been like that. You couldn't you felt like you were scrutinized constantly. Employees would cry, and that's not right. You know, if you're threatened or mistreated, nobody should be treated that way. And as long as I'm a council member, if I find out that happens, I'm gonna go that man right there and make him responsible. And he knows I will, right? So with that being said, same with the residents. I take care of people, and I always have been. That's the nature of my beast, you know. But I do think that we're working forward and trying to get things done and trying to clean things up. So if you ever need me, everybody has my phone number. So just, if you don't have it, call somebody that you know because they have it, right, Steve? Everybody has it. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to thank the council and the mayor for us working together and trying to get things done. And we're going to keep moving it forward.
Thank you, Ms. Faith.
Thank you.
Mike, what you got?
I don't have anything more tonight, Mayor.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Ms. Mankus?
I don't have anything, but thanks everybody for coming. And I'm excited about working with the new Shepherdsville and what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Thank
We're
you.
pretty good. Listen, thank you all for being here. I know it was a long meeting today. We don't normally want to try to have this long, but again, and I want to make sure that when we have these different topics, we talked about signing speakers. I don't like to not have them, but I think I knew what kind of day we were going to have. But if we have something pertinent about that, we had some people that had residents about that, we let them speak about that. I think it's a key thing for, if anybody's in that situation like that lady, you'd be just like her. And it's unfortunate that we went this long without taking care of that. And I can assure you, this council will tell you, they already have their information from you. We've looked at some other cities and what they do. We actually have in our new ordinance, we can condemn property where we couldn't do that before. Okay, so it is and again, we take that seriously. If we're gonna go out there and start looking at some of these properties and taking them out, we gotta make sure that we're doing everything right. So we gotta be careful, and I'm notorious for going really fast, right, Bonnie?
Yeah. Speedy Gonzalez.
Right. So because of that, we take this very seriously about the ordinance we're putting together. I think they'll spend the time to due diligence. We're gonna make sure they have everything they need, and then when we put this together, I can assure you, the house I'm going to, that next morning, is his. And he'll know I'm coming. Okay, so just so you know, and just so you know, I don't want to bring up another situation, but I can tell you this council knows that we're not going to tolerate that in our city. We're going to better this city, not only but the property, but we're going to take care of those in need too, in the way that we need to take care of them. All right, so thank you all for being here this evening. Absolutely.
Sorry, I know I don't normally speak.
No,
'cause I'm-
go ahead. You've been
I'm
talking a
just
whole
the
day.
attorney. I read, I don't speak. But I want to address the legal side of her complaint, and I'm sad that I don't think I'm sad that she's not going to hear this, but legally, when you're talking about someone's home, we have to do things a certain way, in a correct way. Because if we have an ordinance, if we write an ordinance and it's not done correctly, it's not worth the paper it was written on if we have to go to court. And that's what I look at. I look at, so if we're going to go to someone's house, they're going to take us to court. That's my mindset. Because if they don't and they comply, then all is great. But if they don't and we go to court, we have to be able, I have to be able, as the city attorney, I'm going to be the one. I have to be able to go up there and to defend that. That means that our ordinance has to be legal, and it also has to be done correctly. Now, unfortunately, our previous ordinances, they didn't really address a lot of this issue, a lot of these issues that we have, so that's a problem. But I'll be honest, and I've already told them, even if they had, those ordinances were not done correctly and would be void under the law. If we went to court, we would lose. And then the city's paying my fee and others, you know what I mean? And now we're costing the city money. So it's a process. I actually literally, 10 minutes before this meeting started, I brought my computer. I was literally working on that ordinance and everything else that has to go with it. It's about a 50-page ordinance. This is not quick. This is processes. So there's legal. It's not just we want to drag it out. But I do know that we are looking on being able to do the first reading sometime next month. I don't know if it'll be the first or second meeting, but we are looking to move forward. And as soon as we get this in place, we will have it in effect. But it's got to be able to stand up in court, and that's why this is so important, and that's why we really couldn't move forward based on our previous ordinances. Now, whether there's some state law that some other entities could have come in, we can't control that. But I just wanted to give you all from the legal side why this is taking a little bit of time. But I promise you, this is something that we have been working on almost since the beginning. And we just got to make sure we do it correct and legal so that when we go to enforce it, if somebody should take us to court, we will prevail, because we will have done you no service if we don't do this right and we go to court and the court says, nope, city, you did it wrong, so you can't do anything about it, and we have to start the process over. So I just wanted to say that from the legal aspect.
I appreciate it. And again, thank you in advance. Right. Thank you all. All right. With that said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mike.
Second.
All right. Bonnie and then Mike. All right. Roll call.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Thank you all for being here. Please keep coming back. We're going to do some good things. Thank you, too, for showing up. We appreciate it very much.
We'll see you soon.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Joe.
Okay.
I'll make sure you need to say something. You let me know, okay? I mean, it's just, you know. How's your arm? How's it doing?
Still so.
Why don't you still go?
Because I'm doing physical therapy.
Okay.
Call me.
Why don't you call me? You got my number? Yeah. Just call the office. Yeah, call me. Come talk to me.
I'm more flexible than you guys.
Well, just call. If you'll call the office and ask me to, call me, or just let me know. I tell you what, let me do this. I don't have my regular cell phone. I didn't put on these cards.
Okay.
You can call this one.
Okay. Always wave at you.
Come by the office.
Thank you, sir. No, it's always you, Charlie.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Any dress, I'll be right back. Right, let's see your pass, so we don't sign those. I mean, I still signed the summary, I guess, since I did it, but not that, but, okay.
Man, my agenda was, I was having such a hard time.